Hello, everyone. Good morning or good evening.
My website.
Good morning.
Hi. All right. So, shall we continue with the Python module? So, yesterday we have started with the Python, the fundamentals of Python on DevOps perspective. So, we'll see how we can use Python scripting and work on the basic features to implement DevOps as well as other process automation. And also, we'll see how developers can create the console applications or web applications. What are the web application framework we use there and all. Correct. So as like how we have gone through the Linux, right? So here also it is always recommended to proceed with based upon some examples, right? So we'll be working on some scripts. We'll be working on some core uh, commands and concepts based upon the syntax and the program itself directly. Correct. So I have a separate documentation created for that. I'll be sharing the document with you for your practice. Maybe for next 2, 3 days, you can use the document to practice the basic concepts of Python. And yes, we talked about all the differences, right? Like how to write a script and what is an algorithm, what is a pseudocode. And also, I was expecting you to install and configure Python and Visual Studio Code on your local machine. Is it completed or like any challenges there?
Completed. Completed.
Okay, and you can able to access ideally, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Default bash terminal or terminal for your Python. It's like a command line utility. Hmm, Fine. So in addition to that, we'll be working on your Visual Studio Code. Okay, so I strongly recommend to use Visual Studio Code for developing your Python-based applications. And apart from Visual Studio Code, right, developers, the core Python developers, they can have a dedicated IDE called PyCharm. So PyCharm is another, IDE. It is based on Eclipse. Like how Java developers uses Eclipse IDE for their coding and development for Java-based applications. It's on an IDE actually. Like here I have Eclipse installed. And this IDE will provide a best GUI interface, and also it is very much intuitive to work on your Python application development. It will be having some set of libraries, and it creates a default editor for your Python coding. All those benefits will be there. But why we use Visual Studio Code means we are not going to develop any core business applications. If you are part of a DevOps team, let's say we have a dedicated training for AI-based implementations and the MLOps, right? So for learning all those things, you should be a core Python developer. So for such requirements, you can install PyCharm and you can start developing your Python applications. But we are learning Python on DevOps perspective. So usually we use Visual Studio Code because this is just a lightweight and open source IDE for coding and development, right? So people who are completely new to this Visual Studio Code, yesterday I shared the link to install Visual Studio Code, right? Once this is installed, you can open this from your start menu and you'll be getting this interface, right? So here you can able to find various options like file menu, where you can able to handle your file, projects, workspace. You can create a new folder, you can create a new file, save the project, create a workspace or duplicate the workspace. And if you install any additional plugins or no extensions, based upon that, you'll be getting some menu options here. And in addition to that, there is something called context menu. You can see here, right? The context menu. So this context menu icon will be a quick help or quick reference to your plugins or extensions that you install. Say, for example, if you want to quickly work on your project workspace, because in any Python-based application or any project, first we have to prepare the workspace. Okay. We call it as project folder or workspace. Okay. So this workspace is the collection of project files and components. For example, all the source code, right? What are the source code the developers are creating, and what are all the unit test cases, and what are all the application properties. Okay, so all the files and folders that are related to your project will be maintained in this workspace, and it can be stored in your file system. So this is what I was talking about, continuous development. Developers will create their project in the local machine, prepare the source code, and once the source code is ready, they can publish the entire workspace into the source code repository for version controlling it, right? So that is how development starts actually. So in order to create such workspace in Visual Studio Code, we can use this Explorer. So here you can have an option to open a folder or clone the remote repository. Let's say you are working on your GitHub repository, right? for maintaining a training documents. Similarly, I can maintain some source code in the remote repository. So that can be cloned into this one. I'll talk about it tomorrow once we start with the Git module. I'll show you how to work with your repositories and all. And I have installed Java extension for my Java-based web application. So I get this option, create Java project option. Okay. And then the search is used to search the components from your workspace. And this source control is used to directly interact with your remote repositories. And for any Java-based application, we can able to install some debugger to debug your components, application components. And very essential thing is your extensions. So any new user who is working on Visual Studio Code, first you can get into this particular feature, correct? So extension means it helps you to maintain your uh, plugins that is required to add value to your Python or any other tool we use. For example, consider this is my Visual Studio Code, and from this Visual Studio Code, if I want to handle my remote servers, it can be my AWS related resources. See here, we have a lot of AWS related plugins and extensions available. Similarly, Azure related extensions are available here, right? So extensions provided. So if you click on any extension, like if I say Azure Pipeline means, you can see this is the Azure Pipeline for Visual Studio Code, which is officially provided by Microsoft. So what does the need for this extension means? It adds syntax highlighting auto completion of the code, and it will automatically generate the code. Let's say as a developer, if I want to write any script, I no need to type the complete syntax. Okay, like as soon as I start typing the script, it will highlight the keywords and it can auto complete the syntax. So it just improves the productivity of a developer. And also, while writing any program, if there is any syntax error, it will quickly highlight the syntax error then and there. Means even before you compile your code, while you type your syntax itself, we can able to highlight the syntax errors and other stuff. So that much the tools will help the developers to quickly do their coding. Like this, we have something for our Python as well. See here, we have Python extension. We have Python. If you type Python, you can find a Python language support with extension. So Python language, Python extension for Visual Studio Code. This is also provided by Microsoft, right? So this provides you an interface when you create a Python program and save it as .py. So all the Python programs will be saved as .py as extension. As like how you create your text file or document file, Python script should be saved as .py. Correct. So once you install Visual Studio Code, go to this extensions tab, click on this and search for Python, and you will be getting an option to install Python extension here. Also, you can able to install Python debugger. Correct. So as per your need, you can able to browse through the things and handle it. But it is always recommended to use some officially recommended or verified extension from the service provider. Because if you see the huge list of extensions, right, it can be from some third-party users also. Even I can create my own extension, publish it. It is possible. But we can't assure that it is completely secured. Correct. So while choosing your plugin or extension, you can see there is a certificate symbol, right? Verification symbol. So ensure that you have this symbol available so that it is something verified by the supplier. Correct. It is recommended actually. Easy. Are you guys clear with this?
Yeah.
So tomorrow while working in our AWS module, I'll be installing some AWS related plugins here. Like you can see, I've installed for AWS CloudFormation snippet, right? And similarly for Azure, we have right? Like Azure Pipelines, Azure Resources, Azure Terraform. I was working for some Terraform projects, right? And if you want, you can able to check with your open source Terraform as well. So tomorrow, once we start with the Terraform module, I'll show you how to use it. See here, we have something from HashiCorp Terraform. So this is something verified and supplied by HashiCorp. So this is a Terraform extension for Visual Studio Code. So like this, while working on Visual Studio Code is just a base IDE. These extensions will add value to that, which makes Visual Studio Code to work or use for any application components. You can develop Java programs here itself. You can develop your even .NET, C Sharp, everything can be done here with its own limitation. Got it? So I have a .NET extension here. If I want to work in .NET project like C Sharp or other stuff, I can directly use my extension and start working on it. I don't need to install Visual Studio Code. Got it? Similarly, I can have my SQL Server integration. I can able to connect to my SQL database or Oracle database through my Visual Studio Code. So these are some benefits of using your Visual Studio Code for coding and development. Any question? Any question here?
No.
All right. So your first task, okay. So your first task is to install Python and then install Visual Studio Code and then you have to install Python extension for Visual Studio Code. If you're not using this extension, right, there's something like you're working in a flat file using Notepad or command prompt. Also, we can able to create a Python script. So there won't be any difference. So it is recommended to use this plugin or extension. Correct? That's it. So once you have that in place, you can quickly create your project workspace and prepare your components. So first thing is you have to open or create project folder. Okay. I can simply refer as VS Code, Visual Studio Code, and then create programs. Okay. So this is how we develop some Python console applications. Okay. Very simple as that. Similarly, tomorrow, if you want to create any Python web application, also same process. You'll be creating some project folder for web application and then creating the Python programs and executing it. But that web applications can be executed using some web application framework. Okay. It can be Flask or Django. Okay, there are various types of web application framework. So you can either use Flask or Django. So we'll be using Flask web application framework for Python and then executing using terminal and web browser. Okay, so this makes a difference. I just clearly summarized what are the steps to be followed. Any console application means like a desktop application, right? Which can be maintained within your desktop machine, as like how we prepared our Linux scripts. But web application means it can be accessible through web browser, correct? So that makes a difference. So in order to create these things, we need to learn some basic Python concepts, like how to create a Python script. What are all the programming constructs we have? Like yesterday itself, while talking about Linux script, I told you, right? Any scripting or programming language will be having some common entities, starting from the variables, arrays, group of elements, list, condition statements, looping constructs, file handling, database handling. Like this, there are some common entities are there. So first, let's understand the fundamentals, and then I'll show you how to prepare some Python-based projects. Any question? Any question till now?
No, sir.
Yes.
All good.
Okay. So if you're clear with this, then we'll move on to the basic understandings of Python. So usually Python is a open source and it is a cross-platform programming language. Okay. Python is a open source and it is a cross-platform programming language, and it is having a lot of capabilities. Initially, it was meant for some basic, console-based applications, but because of its, you know, integration, right, capability to integrate with various, extensions, and a lot of open source project development happens through this. It gains a lot of popularities, and even today there are a lot of, researchers behind this. How we can use Python promptly on this AI technologies and other stuff, right? So if you are learning up, if you want to learn about any AI-based technologies or any neural network, right? So this is a very essential entity. On DevOps perspective, there are two things. One is AI ops and ML ops. So for both the things, in order to handle the data analytics or data mining, Python programming plays a very important role. So if you want to set your career on data analytics or no AI based thing, you should learn Python. That is must to have skill. But for DevOps, it is an optional skill. Okay. So it is a multi-purpose programming language due to its many extensions. So how it is called as a multi-purpose means plugin and extension supportive entities. Like for example, I told you about some extensions, right? AWS extensions or Azure extensions. So that makes your Python as well as a multi-purpose. So it means using Python, you can able to interact, use that extension and interact with any services. Like you can able to create your AWS resources using Python. Like we have created a VM, remember, in our last module, right? On our AWS console, we have created a VM. Same thing you can able to create using Python scripting. You can able to create some Azure or Google Cloud resources. Everything is possible. And it is also meant for some scientific computations, web application development using some web application framework like Flask or Django. And programming language is maintained and available from this Python Software Foundation. So this is the official page to refer. Yesterday I was sharing this link only to install Python. Hope you noticed, right? So this is the official page where you can able to find the details of the Python, its versions, release notes, and how to use, what all the extensions supportive to that, what all the security features we have. Everything can be captured from this official link, python.org. And here you can download the basic feature in one package, which includes your Python programming language interpreter, basic code editor, and an integrated development environment called IDLE. So that's what happened yesterday. When you install Python through this link, you just downloaded the basic Python feature, one package, which is nothing but your programming language interpreter, basic code editor called IDE. IDE just considers a basic code editor. Okay, you can simply write some codes. That's all. It is not that intuitive as like a Visual Studio Code. And another important benefit of Python is a object-oriented programming language. But you can use Python in basic application without using it also. For example, if you work on Java-based applications or C++ based application, it is a purely object-oriented programming language. If you want to create a Java program, you'll be starting with the class definition, right? Class is nothing but a collection of functions and variables. It is purely an object-oriented programming language. But Python supports object-oriented programming language. Means it is based upon the requirement. Whether you want to use this OOPS concepts or not, it depends upon your requirement. You can use it. Without OOPS concepts also, you can able to prepare the Python basic application. It is possible. Or some critical applications or business requirements needs this object-oriented programming, so you can use that feature. You see, so that's why it is considered a versatile language. You see? And I use one term here, right? The versatility as well as the interpreter. When you install Python, it comes with a programming language interpreter. So this is something you can consider, okay, which is responsible to interpret your source code for the execution. So Python is having an integrated programming language, and this means as the developer, you can able to create your Python script using .py as an extension. You can use any editor like Visual Studio Code or any other editor to create this file. And once a file is created, you can able to automatically interpret. It's a process of compiling the code. So there are two entities here. One is interpreter and the compiler. So we need to be very clear with the difference between the code interpreter and code compiler. So any programming language has to be compiled and converted to the low-level language. We are using this high-level language to prepare the script. And it has to be converted to a machine language so that that machine can able to execute it. So there'll be a component called compiler, which will compile your source code and create that artifacts. But Python will never use compiler. It uses the interpreter. Interpreter means line by line, it just, interpret and creates a machine specific instruction. That's what. So programming languages are generally fall into any of this category. Either it can be compiled or interpreted. With a compiled language, the code, whatever you enter, is reduced to set of machine specific instruction before you save it as executable. And both are having its own advantages and disadvantages. It means if you are working on any critical applications using Java-based application means you can able to use a compiler for that. All your Java-based applications are executed through your compiler. But here, Python code, whatever you're going to use, it is going to use the interpreter. So once the code is ready, this is a Python architecture, okay? So once the code is ready, using this interpreter, we can able to perform the syntax check. The script, whatever we have prepared, whether it is prepared as per the Python script, it will be checking the syntax. And if the syntax is valid, it just converts that script into the executable. So there is a component called syntax checker and translator that helps to check the syntax and translate the code. And then we have something called Python virtual machine, PVM, which is responsible to run any Python module as a bytecode. So the point is, I have a source code written using a Python script. So this source code is written in high level language. So if you want to execute this Python program, first your syntax checker that is present in your Python architecture will check for the syntax, and then it just translates it using a translator. So this translator will convert your high level language into the bytecodes that is understandable by the machine. And once it is converted to bytecode, your Python VM, that is Python virtual machine, it is responsible to execute the bytecode in any target environment. So this is what in Java we call it as JVM, Java virtual machine, right? Which is responsible to run your Java programs. Similarly, for Python, we use Python VM. All right. So ultimately, this Python architecture composed of three important components. One is your syntax checker. Second thing is a translator, and then your Python virtual machine. Syntax checker is used to check the syntax. If syntax is valid, it just uses the translator to translate your high level code to the machine level code. That's what the bytecodes. And that bytecodes can be executed in any target environment by using this Python virtual machine. Easy? Any question on this? It's all just a basic architecture of your Python. Okay. Similarly, any program language has its own architecture. So what is the basic difference between your interpreter and compiler? So as we discussed, both interpreter and compiler has its own merits and demerits. Okay. So let's understand the basic properties of these two things. So when I say interpreter, it translates one statement at a time. For example, consider I have written my Python program. I just saved this program as .py. Hope all are listening, right?
Yes.
I just saved this file as a Python program, and this Python program can have n number of lines of code. Correct. So this is the high level language which I have written, and I have to convert it to the machine language, the bytecodes, because only the bytecodes can be executed by your Python VM in the target machine. So how this conversion happens, how the translator is going to identify your source code and convert it to bytecode, that is done through your interpreter, not the compiler. Python uses the interpreter. And the basic property of interpreter is it translates the program one statement at a time. You can have n number of lines of code, but each and every line will be taken into consideration and it just converts it. Since it is dealing with line by line conversion, definitely your interpreter usually takes less amount of time to analyze the source code. However, the overall execution time is slower when compared to the compiler. Compiler will scan the entire program and translate into machine code, but your interpreter will consider line by line for translation. And interpreter, it can quickly translate one line, but compiler will take the entire program for translation. So compiler usually takes large amount of time to analyze the source code. However, the overall execution time is comparatively faster than interpreter. That is the reason your C, C++, Java and all uses the compiler. Correct. And Python and other scripting languages uses the interpreter. And here no object code is generated. Hence the memory is efficient, but here it generates the object code, which further requires linking and hence requires more memory. So object code means like an intermediate code. It's like an executable. So which is stored separately for your compiler. Easy? So Python programming language uses the interpreter, which can interpret each and every line of your source code and translates it into the bytecode or a machine code. So overall the execution is slower when compared to your compiler here. You see? And an interpreted language is generally more suited for doing some ad hoc calculation or simulations, while the compiled languages are better for permanent applications for speed. Means if I want to create some core business applications, I cannot rely on my interpreter because we never compile the code very frequently. Let's say you have created one web application like user login page. That user login page will be having the front-end design, database design, as well as your application logic. So the entire application will be created and it will be compiled and saved as a executable, the WAR file, right? So the compiled result of your application will be saved as an artifacts. So once you create the artifact, that artifacts can be invoked any number of times based upon various scenarios. So you build once and execute it any number of times. That is your compiler property. Because every time if you compile, right, it consumes a lot of time and resource. So we never encourage for large scale applications to use interpreter. That is the reason your Java based applications, your .NET or C, C++ uses the compiler here. But if you are using some scripting, some ad hoc calculations or simulations, we can use some interpreted language like Python. So that makes a difference. Okay, like what is your business use case? Whether you want to use Python or Java. So it depends upon that your implementation will start. Any question? So we are just comparing the tools that are responsible to compile and create the object code or artifacts. Any question here? Guys, if you have any question, please let me know.
No, looks like it's all good.
No,
Okay. Now, once you understand the concept of your compilation and interpretation, how this Python will be useful for creating the packages. It can be an application package or whatever, right? So as I said, Python can be used as a scripting language as well as to develop some applications. So what are all the types of application we can able to prepare? So we consider that as a Python packages. So a lot of Python package exist depending upon what you're going to do. We have Python package for developing your desktop GUI based application, database development, web development, or any soft development. Python is having an extensive list of packages. Package means the libraries which can be imported to your script and do the desired task. For example, if you want to work on your web application framework, you can import that web application framework library and execute your program. If you want to work on your AWS, you can able to download that AWS related, package and execute your program. Like that, we have a lot of, capabilities while working on your Python. So with Python, you don't get so much out of work, but instead having all functionalities built into the core. We just need to install different packages for different requirement. So that package can be meant for your scientific or any numeric computations. Got it? Like this, there are a lot of distribution packages available. Okay, Python packages and the Spider editor. It's just some editors actually. Like I talked about your PyCharm, right? Like that, these are some editors. And why we go for some specific editor or package means you no need to manually install it. For example, if you are using Visual Studio Code, I said it is a very basic IDE which is having a lot of capabilities to work on your various tools. But in order to work on all these things, you have to install the extension actually, right? So we have to manually choose the required plugins, install it. Then only your Visual Studio Code can able to support all those features. But instead of that, see here we have a lot of packages. All these things we call it as a package related to your Python. But instead of Visual Studio Code, if you're using your PyCharm means, all these packages are pre-configured there. You don't need to manually install. It comes along with the software. So that makes a difference. Easy. Fine. So now, how to work with this? In order to work with this, first we have to install Python, and we'll be using some editor, that is IDE for creating a source code. So editor is a program where you can create your source code. When you install Python, by default, it comes with IDL editor. That's what you're seeing. But in addition to that, you can consider other editors also. Like we are talking about Visual Studio Code, Spider, Visual Studio, PyCharm, Wing Python IDE, or Jupyter Notebook. These are all some, maybe you can ignore this Visual Studio Code. Apart from Visual Studio Code, we have something called Spider, PyCharm, Wing Python IDE, and Jupyter. Wing Python also, it is not much used, but these three things, Spider, PyCharm, and Jupyter Notebook, all these things are considered as the enterprise level editors, Python editors. Okay. But apart from that, Visual Studio Code, it is a lightweight IDE to work on your Python programming. Visual Studio, it is promptly meant for .NET based applications. It is not meant for Python, but still you can able to run some Python applications or create some Python source code there. It is possible. Easy. So out of this, we are going to use Visual Studio Code IDE for our coding and development. Am I clear with this? You guys able to understand, right, what we are discussing here?
Yeah.
Yes.
People who are completely new or any non-IT people can able to relate what we are discussing?
Yes, sir.
Or it's something like you are unable to follow? Because the terminologies might be completely new for non-IT people, but it is not that difficult, okay? If you understand the purpose of it, it's simple. You understand the purpose, right? What is an IDE? What is the need for Python and all? So if you have any questions, stop me then and there and let me know. I can explain you again, okay? Because the basic understanding is very much essential. We are not going to learn all the advanced concepts, but we are going to learn all the fundamentals. Because if you're clear with the fundamentals, tomorrow you can able to cultivate, or you can able to learn many new advanced things by yourself. That's what we are trying to achieve here. Easy? Now, once you have your IDE and Python installed, how to start working on Python? That is the next step. So first thing, you have to open your IDE. Whether you're using your Python IDLE or Visual Studio Code, whatever it is, you just open it. And if you use IDLE means this is how the user interface looks like. Like yesterday I showed you this, right? Remember, yesterday we have
Yes,
opened this
yes.
IDLE and
Yes.
execute a small Python command here. Python followed by the message. It gets printed. So it is called as a Python shell. As like how you use your bash terminal or command prompt, it is a shell that helps to interact with your Python. And here you can type one command at a time. It is a command prompt. You can able to type only one command at a time. You cannot execute multiple commands. If you need any help on this, you can run this function, help function. It will give you the complete information about this IDE, ideally, how to use this ideally, how to execute the commands, what are all the commands you can execute, what are all the parameters you can pass to those commands. It's just like a help feature. You can able to use it. And once the process completes, if you want to exit from the screen, just press Q. to close that and return to Python prompt. Like this, we can able to use that ideally for your features. So it is a very basic thing. We never actually use it for our development or coding, but instead we can able to use our Visual Studio Code. Correct? So working with Visual Studio Code also, it's very simple. Like as I said, let me open that Visual Studio Code project. So this is my ideally, where I can able to key in my input command. And I can able to execute some functionalities, right? So when I execute the help function, it is giving me the prompt, right, on which topic you want help. You can able to enter the topic. See, if I search for the print command, it is giving a description about the print command and what are the possible options we can pass to that one. Like that, if you need help on any Python related, functions or the syntax, you can use this help function and enter the command which you need help. Correct? So like this, we can able to manage it. And once your process complete, just press Q. It will come out of that prompt. So this is how we can able to use your ideally. But for your core application creation, you can rely on your Visual Studio Code. Something like this. Okay. So in Visual Studio Code, first thing is you can go to your file menu and click on open folder. Because we have to open the existing or create a project, actually just click on open folder. It will take you to your file system. In your local machine itself, it will take you to your file system. Just go to the desired directory where you want to create your what do you call that, projects. So let me navigate to my folder and let me create a new folder like okay. Okay. So I just want to create a new folder. I can get in this option and create a new folder, and I can manage my folder structure here. So this is the folder I want to choose, and you can see it has opened this folder. Console app project 1 is a folder name which I've created. So I want to consider this as my project folder going forward. So within this, I can able to create my Python programs. So to create a Python program means once a folder is ready, I hope you're clear, right, how to create a folder. It's very simple. Go to your file menu, or you can use your context menu from here, your file system. So file menu and click on this open folder. It will take you to your file system. Go to the desired path and then create a folder and open that folder. It just opened here, right? Now we just open the folder. It is not having any programs inside, right? So if you want to create any components within the folder, just use this option. There is an option to create a new file, option to create a new subfolders and all. So click on this option and type the program like pgm1.py. See, as soon as I type the extension here, py, you can see the logo, that file logo, actually it is changed to Python symbol. Can you see this? Can you notice this?
Yes, sir.
As of now, it is just like a flat file when I give the name. But if I use the extension, it is considering it as a Python program. So how it is possible means it is because of the extension that you installed here. So that's what the importance of extension. So we have installed the extension. Because of that, it is recognizing my Python script and it is opening it in a Python editor here. So if it is opening a Python editor, I can able to see as soon as I start typing my script here, like if I type my syntax, it is giving my syntax highlighter. So I can simply use that. Correct. As soon as I type my script, it is giving the syntax highlighter, which can able to autofill the syntax. So this is what the main advantage of using your IDE and the extensions and the default editor for creating a program. You see, I just type the command print and I'm giving this context here. See, so it is easily supporting the syntax generation as well as if there is any syntax error. If I make any error, see it is highlighting in red color now. Can you see this? Can you see this? Because it is an incomplete syntax, so I need to complete it. So if you place the cursor here on that error message, it's giving what went wrong. So I can quickly go ahead and correct the syntax. So this is how developers can use this IDE to develop their source code. So once the code is ready, go to file menu and save that code. Correct. Just go to file menu and save the code. And another important feature in your Visual Studio Code is the terminal. Terminal means there is a terminal menu here. If you click on this terminal menu, you can able to open a new terminal. Terminal means it's like a kind of a command prompt, you can say. Okay. If you want, you can able to use your Python commands here. See, when I execute Python followed by that version, I can see the Python version here. So using this Python CLI commands, we can able to interact with the Python. It is same as like how you're using your IDLE for managing your Python commands. So just in a single user interface, I can prepare my code and I can able to test my code. That is possible. Correct? See, this is the way you can run your Python script. So to run your Python program, prepare the program, go to your IDE, I mean your command prompt or any terminal, and you can use your command py followed by the program name dot slash backward slash followed by the program name. So this will execute the script whatever you written here. You see? Remember in our shell Linux module, we were using the same process, right? Dot. Are you able to compare and understand the things now? Guys?
Yes.
So it's very simple to create a program and to execute the program in Python. Like this, we are going to learn about what are all the various constructs that is help to prepare your Python program. Okay. So any question so far? Any question?
Every time we need to create this editor or writing pgm1.py, or we will delete the first command and use the second command for running something different, not hello.
Yeah, you can do it. No, it is just a script actually. You can able to maintain anything here. It is not, it's just a program. The program syntax can be anything, no? Is that your question or like
Got.
Like this, a project folder can have another program also, right? pgm2.py. And here you can able to write your own script and execute that program by using the program name. Because a application can have a number of functions. Each and every function can be defined in a script and can be invoked. Correct? Is that understandable to all, or any issues? Please let me know. For most of people, it might be a new thing. If you have anything, just you can use the chat window also. If you're unable to unmute a line. Please confirm, all of you. So we just understood the purpose of Python, difference between the interpreter and compiler, and how the Python is going to, when Python program can be created using Visual Studio Code, and how to maintain the folder structure, use the terminal, and execute a program, right? So if you're clear with this, then we'll move on to the next topic. So the next topic is, as I said, it all starts from the variable declaration, data handling. A lot of things are there. Okay. So we'll be working on some variables, data types, keywords, literals, string, and all. So variable is just a name to refer a memory location. It is an identifier, right? So if I want to save a value 5 means the value will be saved in one memory location of your computing device, and it will be identified with the variable name. So v1 is a variable name that is used to identify this value. So variable is a name that is used to refer a memory location, and Python variable is also known as an identifier and used to hold a value. So technically, we never refer a term variable. We use a term called identifier. How many identifiers are declared? What is the type of an identifier? That is how we refer to that entity. And in Python, no need to specify the data type of variable, because Python depends upon the input value. It can smartly identify the type of variable. For example, if you have worked in C program or C++ program or Java, there you can able to use a data type like int a, correct? Have you seen this term?
Yes.
So in your C program or Java program, you'll be using this method to declare a variable or initialize a variable. The variable name should be prefixed with the data type, variable name, and you can able to assign some values also like this. But in Python, this data type is not mandatory. If you want to declare a variable, you can simply say a equal to 5, something like this. Then how the data type of this variable is identified means Python smartly identify the data type depends upon the value you assign to that variable. If you assign 5 means it is considered as a numeric item. If you assign 1.1 like this, it assigns as a decimal. If you assign any character means it assigns it identifies as a character. Or if you assign any value like this a1 means it is considered alphanumeric. Like this depends upon the type of value it assigns the data type. And declaring and assigning a value, it is not a big deal. Python does not bind us to declare a variable before using the application. It allows to create the variable at required time. That is another important benefit of using Python here. Like if you are comparing it with your C program or any other thing, right? First, we have to declare the variable. Then only you can able to use it, right? But in Python, it is not mandatory you have to declare all the variables initially. Whenever required, you quickly declare and use it. It will work. So we don't need to declare explicitly in Python. We can assign any value to variable that assigns automatically. And using equal to symbol, we can even assign a value like a equal to 5. So this is an assignment operator. It is assigning the value to a variable. Easy? So this is about the variable declaration in Python. And as like any programming language, the Python is also having some criteria to declare the variables. There are some naming conventions. There are some coding rules. Okay. So if you want to declare any Python variable, the first character of a variable must be an alphabet or underscore, like a, like this. Or it can be an underscore. You can start the variable name with underscore, it's possible. And all characters except the first character may be the alphabet of lowercase, uppercase, or underscore or digit. And then identifier must not contain any white spaces or any special characters. These special characters are not allowed in the variable name, and it should not have any character space also. And the identified name must not be similar to any keyword defined in the language. Like for example, Python is having some predefined keywords, right? Any scripting or any program language has its own keywords. Like in Java and all, we use integer. Int is one keyword. We never uses int to declare a variable or to assign as a variable name. Similarly, Python also it is having a lot of keywords. Like initially we use a command called print command. So print is one keyword actually. You cannot use this print to declare a variable name. Correct? So you're not supposed to use any predefined keywords for naming the variable, and identified names are case sensitive. Your variable, whatever you declare, it is a case sensitive in Python. So ensure that you use proper case. That means this and my name is not the same because it is written in caps. And here are some examples for valid identifier. It can start with the alphabet. It can start with the underscore like this. It can have some numeric values also, variable name, but you cannot use number as a very first character. It should not have any special symbol or it should not have any white spaces in between the variable name. So these are some examples for your variable declaration. Any question? Guys?
No, all good.
So we are just talking about the variable declaration part, how we can declare a variable in your Python. You see? And I can give you some examples also, like a lot of scenario-based examples I have. So let me show you in the upcoming slides. Okay. So let's say, for example, there is another important benefit here, feature here. Okay. If you want to assign multiple values or a same value to multiple variables, we use a term called multiple assignments. Multiple assignment means Python allows us to assign a value to multiple variables in a single statement. For example, if you want to assign a same value to more than one variable, you no need to declare it multiple times. So the declaration can be easily done with the help of this statement. So here you can see assigning a single value to multiple variables. So 50 is a value. I just want to assign it to these three variables. Right? Similarly, I want to assign these three values to these three variables respectively. So it will automatically assign the value there. You no need to manually assign a equal to 5 or b equal to 10. Multiple lines are not required. Just in single statement, you can able to assign a single value to multiple variable or multiple values to multiple variables. Any question? Any question here?
No, sir.
So it's quite easy as that. See, I quickly execute that statement. The one whatever I was showing you in that slide. So in the same PGM1, I just coded here. It's very simple. No need to declare a variable with the data type and all. Simply say x equal to y equal to z equal to 50. So the 50 is assigned to all these three variables, and using the print command, I'm able to print the value here. So print followed by that variable name, right? So it is printing the value of x, y, and z here. Easy. Hope you can understand now.
Yes.
Yes.
Similarly, you can able to assign multiple values to multiple variables. This one, which I was showing in the slide, I just copied and pasted in my script here. So this is something assigning multiple values to multiple variables. So 5 will be assigned to A, and 10 to B, and 15 to C. We are printing all these values. So here another important thing you should consider is whenever I need the variable, I'm just declaring it in my program, right? It is not like we have to declare all the variables at the initial stage. If you're using your C program or Java and all, first we have to declare all the variables. There will be a separate variable declaration session. There you have to declare everything. Then only you can able to use it in your class or the function. But here, within your program, anywhere you can declare a variable and use it. Easy? Yes, no? Understandable or not?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Fine.
Clear.
And another important thing is there is a variable that can be considered as a local variable or a global variable. Local variable means the variables that are declared within a function, and it can be used within a function. But there'll be some variable that can be declared common to any function you use. And what is a function basically? Functions are nothing but a set of tasks that you want to do and that are repeated. So in Python, you can able to declare a function, and that function can have some variable declaration or any other sub functions. A lot of things are there. The variables, whatever you declared within a function, the scope of the variable is within that particular function. For example, consider a scenario. I'm going to create one Python program. And in that Python program, I'm going to define a function. Okay, I'm going to define a function. So this is a function declaration. And within that, I'm going to declare some variables. So the point is, define def is a method used to define any function in your Python. So add is a function name, and the function should be enclosed using parentheses. And then what all the function definition you want to give, just use colon and give your function definitions here. So we are declaring a variable a, b, and C equals to A plus B and printing the value of C. Once the function definition is done here, we are going to call that function by using the function name. So when I call the function, the variables, whatever you declared within the function, it will be utilized and it will produce a sum of that. You see? So local variables are the variables that are declared inside the function and have the scope within the function. You see? Are you getting a point? So this is about a local variable declaration. And if you want, I can show you this example now. And another interesting thing here is, if you see this Python script, I just copied that statement here. This is a function which you are preparing. And if you want to comment out any line, you can use hash here. Hash symbol is used to maintain the comments. And to maintain the readability of a program, you can maintain some indentation here, like this. So here, add is one function, and these are the function statements. It is going to have three variables. 2 are input variable and C is the output variable. And we're going to use a print command to print that result. But when it gets executed means by using your calling method. So when you call that function, it gets executed. So let me save the script and run this. See here. Just forget about all these things. Okay, I already have some statements here. If you want, I can remove all those things for this. Clear the screen and run the script again. See, it is printing the hello message and it is invoking a function called add function. So it means this is the executable statement. When the statement gets executed, the control will get into this function definition, identify these two variables, and then print the result. Okay, if I want, I can use a variable like x equal to 20. And what I can do, I can use a print statement, print of x. Possible, no? So what can I expect here?
Print the message only.
No, for this particular line number 14, what will be the result?
It will show the error because we are accessing it.
Huh? Ints.
It will print 20.
Come again?
It will print 20.
What it will print?
20.
1t means?
Because it's outside of the function, right? The variable is declared.
No, what it will print?
It's 20, 20.
Oh,
Print
20. Okay. So you can see it is executing the function and printing the value of x which you are assigned. Now, if I use a term print a, what is expected now?
It will throw an error, I think. So.
See what happened? That name a is not defined. But instead of that, if I use a print statement, print a, okay, what it mean? It will print the value of a within the program. It is printing here. This is a print statement. It is printing the value of a, and then it is printing the sum value of c, and then it is printing the value of x as 20 here. But while it is trying to print this statement or execute the statement, there is an error. It says in the print command, we use a variable a, which is not defined. So what it means, the scope of the variable, any variable that you declared within your function The scope of the variable is within the function. You cannot access the variable outside the function. Easy?
I have a question. So what will happen if we have defined this function add, and after this function, we want to define any variable like x is equal to 20.
It is within the
So,
function, right?
no, like the sum is like line number 10, it gets completed, and we have to define another variable which will not be the part of the function.
Yeah, you can do it. No, that's what I did here, right? X equal 20. Before the after the function, I just declared here. If you want, you can have it here, no problem.
Okay.
Right. See,
Okay.
the indentation matters. Okay. When you use this x equal to 20 here, this will be part of this function. Because all these statements are part of this function actually. It is the indentation matters. But once you come out of that indentation here, we are just coming out of the function. That's what it means.
Okay. Yeah, I got it. Like the curly brackets we have in another programming
Yes, but
languages.
here there is nothing like curly brackets and all. The 1 pi
Yeah.
character space, right? The indentation matters.
Okay.
Easy?
Yeah.
Fine. Any other question from anyone? Fine. So similarly, there is
For
something called,
printing, one question. For printing hello, we were using the colon, right? This is the function one, that's when that semicolon is not required.
where we use colon here.
Hello, printing
Ah,
that hello. This is here we are using a variable and function, that's why it is not required, no, in this category.
no, where I use semicolon. Semicolon, I don't find anything here, right?
Print hello, that print function is using that hello with semicolon and
No, it's
semicolon,
quotes, right?
sorry, yes.
Quotes, double quotes we are
Sorry,
using, right?
yeah.
So whenever you want to print any constant value, we use quotes, double quotes.
Yeah.
But whenever you want to print any variable, that variable name alone should be there. If you use the double quotes here,
Yeah.
it will be considering it as a constant value. Correct? So variable name can be directly used without any quotes there. So if you can see this statement, line number 10, using this print statement, I am printing some constant value as well as a variable value.
Yeah.
Correct? So all the
Yes.
variables should be directly used, but the constant value should be enclosed within quotes.
Done.
Easy?
Yes.
Now, the next important thing is about the global variable. Assume that I have declared one variable in my function, and I just want to use that variable outside the function. How it is possible? For that, we have a concept called global. So using global variable concept, we can able to maintain the variables outside the function. Okay. So it's possible at any point of time, you can able to use it. Say, for example, if I use x equal to 25. Okay. See, just look into this example here. So I have declared one variable called x. In my program, I have declared one variable called x, and I just want to use that variable within my program. I mean, within the function. X equal to 25, I just declared in my program level. And I want to use it within my function. So within the function, use the term global followed by the variable name. And you can able to print that value. So this variable x is not initialized within the function. It is initialized at the program level, right? So once you declare any variable within your script, you can able to use it in any functions there. Got it? So that makes a difference. See, I just declared the variable called variable X with value 25, and I'm printing that within the function. If you want, I can add the tag for you. Okay. And this is okay. So after using this, I can able to print it. Okay. And at any point of time, you can able to modify the content. Everything is possible as per your need. Okay. So at any point of time, you can able to assign X equal to C. What I'm doing here, I'm just assigning the value X equal to C, and I'm just doing it. So C plus sorry, it is outside the function, right? Value of X outside the function. So what you can understand from here, we have declared a variable called X equal to 25 outside the function. And that variable, I want to use it in my function. So I just use the keyword called global and make it as a global variable. Now, I just declare some private variables like A, B, and C that is within my function. And also, I'm using the global variable X, and I just want to add the value of C to that X. So what is the value of C now? It should be 50, correct? 20 plus 30. And then along with that, I want to add the value of X to this variable. And I'm going to print the value here. Easy. And once I come out of this function, again, I'm trying to print the value of X here. So with this, I can able to see the value, whatever you initialized, it can be modified by the program and it can be used even outside the program. I mean, outside the function. That's what you should consider. So this is a very important scenario while working on any shared data. If you want to pass any input to your function, and if you want to capture the outcome of the function, this is very much essential. Hope you're clear with this.
Can we declare the global variable outside the function?
Outside the function, if you declare, right, it is something considered as a global only, right, by default.
Yeah.
Right. So if you want, you can able to maintain any value there. That doesn't matter. But the point is, within a function, how many times you want to maintain it. That is what the context here. So at any point of time, you can use the values.
Okay.
Correct?
Yeah.
So whenever we declare any variable outside the function, by default, the scope of that variable is accessible by anywhere, right? But if you want to use it within the function, just use the term global. See?
Yeah.
That's it. Fine. So this is about your global and local variables declaration. Easy. So global variables can be used throughout the program, and its scope is in the entire program. So we can use a global variable inside or outside the function. That matters. And the next thing is deleting a variable. This is another important thing here. let's say I have declared a variable and I have processed that data. And once the data is processed, right, I don't want that variable anymore. Okay. I don't want that variable anymore. So we can simply remove that variable. This is one of the unique feature here. In other programming language, right, the scope or the availability of that variable will be there till you execute your program, till the program gets executed, right? It will occupy the memory and it will be there in the data space. But here in Python, once the data is processed, if you think that data is no longer required, you can simply delete it. For example, here we are declaring a variable called x with the value 6 here. And I'm just printing that value. Once I'm done with that variable, I can simply go ahead and delete it. After deleting that variable, if you try to print, you will not get the result. It will be cleaned up from the address space. Easy? It's a unique feature, right?
Yeah.
So it really helps, okay, like because Python is something used for a lot of data analytics, data mining, and a lot of complex data computations and all. So unnecessarily, we should not dump your content, right? So we can able to remove it whenever it is not required. We can simply go ahead and remove that variable. So I can simply say delete. Okay, so I'm asking the value L equal to 6, and I'm going to print the value of L. Okay, and then once the process completes, I just want to delete it. That is what the context here. See here, it can able to print the value of L, and upon deleting that variable, it cannot find that data. Easy. So it is a kind of cleaning up of unwanted variables used in your program. Easy. Hope you all able to understand the requirement clearly. So what is the command to delete a variable? It is just del. Del.
Yes, sir.
All right. So the next concepts related to your Python is something related to tokens. So tokens can be identified, or it can be used as a reserved keywords or any word in a statement. So as I said already, Python is having some reserved keywords, right? So you can able to use the reserved keywords and manage your program. So token is the smallest unit inside the given program. It can be anything like a keyword, identifier, literals, or operators. So what are the keywords that are used in Python? Okay, like any function or any variable you use, it should not reflect your Python predefined keywords. So as we discussed already, Python variable is going to hold a value, and every value has its own data type. And how the data type is identified means it is by default depends upon the initial value, it will identify the data type. So for example, if you consider this scenario here, let's say, for example, we are going to assign a value called phi to a variable a. So depends upon this value, the data type of this variable will be defined. So Python is dynamically a dynamically typed language. Hence, we do not need to define a type of variable while declaring it. So that interpreter implicitly binds the value with its type. So the variable a holds integer value phi, and we don't need to define its type while declaring it, because the Python interpreter will automatically interpret the variable a as an integer data type. So once the variable is declared, how we can able to capture the data type of that variable means by using the function called type. Print type of A, type of B. So type is a function that is used to return the data type of the variable. For example, if I use this in my script, let me change the variable name. Okay. So I just declared 3 variables and initialize some value. So variable D is assigned with value 10, E is assigned with some string of characters, and F is assigned with some decimal values, 10.5. My requirement is I just want to know what are the data types assigned to this variable. So for that, I use a print command along with a type function. So type is a function that is used to identify the return type of that particular variable. So let me save this script and run it. See here. So as part of this execution, you can able to see it can able to capture the data along with its return type. So at any point of time, you can able to use your type function to capture the type of that variable. You see? So another important thing here is I was talking about the keywords, right? So the keywords are here we use is a type keyword. Type is one of the keywords. Okay. So type is one of the keywords which helps to identify the return type of that variable. Easy? Fine. And like this, what are all the other types available? What are the other keywords are available? What are the other literals or tokens available? So Python supports various types of data. It can be categorized as the numeric data, dictionary, Boolean, set, sequence type. So people who are working in DevOps definitely in future, right, will be handling data from various streams, various input files. That input file, it can be a flat file, it can be XML file or a JSON file or YAML file. So promptly we'll be using JSON files and YAML files, which is based upon the keys and values. So tomorrow while working on our Ansible module, Kubernetes module, I'll show you how to write a YAML scripts and all. So whenever you're trying to handle such files, you have to maintain the data in such a way that that variable, whatever you're going to declare in your program, should able to properly handle the data. Let's say I have a key and a value. So this is what we call it as a key value pair. Any JSON file format or YAML file format will be having the key value pairs actually. Correct. So in JSON file or YAML file, this key can be considered as a variable name, and this can be considered a value to that variable. Correct. So how we came to map it? For that, we have a lot of data types supported in Python. I'll be showing you all these things with some examples, okay, while we progress. But as of now, understand the terminologies, like what are all the different data types supported in Python. So the first type we can consider numeric. So the numeric type also, it can be your integer, complex number, or a float. And dictionary, it is another type of data which we can handle. Boolean, it can have some positive or negative or true or false kind of statements. And then the set, it is used to maintain some set of values. It's a kind of list, we can say. Normally in a previous module, we use a term called array, right? What is an array? What I said about array?
Collection of
Uh-huh. So same thing here, we can able to deal with the help of set and the sequence type. So there are a lot of concepts like string, list, tuples, and all. So tomorrow, if you want to handle the data based upon some JSON file format or YAML format, you'll be promptly using this sequence type, dictionary, and then set. Because the data, it can be a simple one-to-one mapping, or sometimes you'll be having some nested mapping also. One key can have multiple values. That value can have multiple sub values, right? So like this, we can able to maintain some nested key value pairs, which can be handled based upon these data types. It's all very interesting. Okay, that will be related activities. Even my current project, whatever I use, I'm using Python to interpret the data from the huge complex JSON file formats. Because I was talking about the microservice based applications, right? Not sure whether we discussed about it with your batch. During your DevOps introduction, we discussed about microservice, right? Remember?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
each and every service will be having its own functionalities. And in real-time environment, you'll be giving a service call or request through some APIs. So using API request or API call, we can able to get into that service and we'll try to extract some data. So whenever the API is producing any output, right, that output can be saved in the form of JSON file format with some nested levels of keys and values. So how I can able to read the data from that API request into my program? For that, I can use such data types. It's a very interesting and core responsibility actually, handling data from the JSON or YAML file, especially while working on API calls. Correct. So now let's understand these things, okay? Like I'll be showing you the example for each and every type of data, like whether it is a numeric or sequence type or list, tuple. I have various examples for each and every level, so we can exit one by one. So the first return type is number. So number stores the numeric values and it can be an integer, float, or any complex value. So Python supports three types of numeric data. It can be integer type, float, or complex. So integer means can be any length, such as integer 10, 20 kind of thing. And floating means it will be like having a floating point numbers, decimal pointers will be there. And complex numbers means can have some ordered pair, a huge list of expressions. So these are some examples how to utilize your variables. Declare a variable with some initial value. It can be a numeric value or decimal or some complex value. And then extract it. Simple as that. I'll be sharing all these scripts with you, okay? Through your class notes, you can able to find all my scripts. Similarly, how to declare your sequence type. So sequence type means a string that can be defined as a sequence of characters. So here, maybe the terminology might look strange, but it is nothing but a string of characters, that's all. If I declare a variable and assign some string of characters using double quotes, this is called a sequence type. As like how we used x equal to hello, right? Like that, just declare a variable and assign some string of character using double quotes. Clear? And a variable can have a string of characters. Sometimes what happens, the input might goes beyond the line. If you want to execute or enter the data more than one line of information to your variable, means that is considered a multi-line string. So the point here is the variable can have a single data within a line, or it can have a multi-line data. So in order to declare a single line data, we can use double quotes. But all the multi-line data can be represented using triple quotes here. So that is how we can able to declare it. In which sequences or in which scenario we'll be using it means, say for example, consider I want to collect some input from the user, like address. So when we talk about address, we'll be having three different variables, right? Address 1, address 2, address 3, correct? So all these things can be consolidated into a single, into a variable, or we can able to consider all these things as a multi-line data. So if you want to declare a variable address 1, if it is going to hold only a line of state, means you able to use double quotes here. But if that variable is going to hold multiple lines of input values, in that case, you cannot use double quotes, right? So you'll be using triple quotes here, like this. So this is how we manage our input lines. So most of the cases will be dealing with the address variables, or sometimes what happens, you'll be reading more than one line from a file. Consider you have a fat file, and from that file you want to read some set of records and save it in a variable. So how to do that means by using some multi-line variable declaration. Easy? Am I making things clear to all?
Yes,
Is
sir.
it clear? So if you want, I can execute this and show you. Let's remove all the other functions. Okay, it might confuse you. So this program is something meant for your single line and multiple lines. So as I said, your single line variable can be declared using double quotes. But a multi-line here, S is a variable that is going to hold some data, right? S is a variable that is going to hold some data. And that variable, it is going to maintain the line data beyond the line. That is the important thing to consider here. So how we can able to manage that? Means S equal to use the single quotes 3 times, 1, 2, 3, that's it. Similarly, end it here. Don't use double quotes, okay? It is not the case here. There are a lot of scenarios where you can use double quotes twice. That is different. But here it should be a 3 times single quotes and maintain the statement. So here the input is distributed more than one line here. So this is what we call as a multi-line string. So in such situations, let me save the file and run it. See here, it can easily capture the value in this variable str, as well as these multiple lines data is captured in this variable s. Easy? So that is what we call it as a sequence type. Any question? Like this, there are a lot of scenarios, okay? Like using the sequence type, you can able to identify one character, or you can able to slice the character, capture the data, everything is possible. So you have something called a placeholder. Placeholders are used to slice the character or string of characters. Say, just look into this example. We already talked about the example one, that is to handle with a single and multi-line input. In example 2, we are going to use some placeholder that helps to slice the string of characters. So we call it a slice operator here. So consider I'm going to declare a variable called str1 and second variable str2, and I want to print the value. If I simply say print str1 means what will get? You'll be getting this value as output, right? But now my requirement is, out of these many characters, I want to print only the first 2 characters. For that, I can use str of, using square bracket, I can specify the starting position of that character and the length of that, which I want to print. So always the index starts with 0. So 0 is the starting position. From this 0th position, it will count 2 characters and print the value here. Similarly, if I want to print the fourth character, I mean the position, fourth position, starting from 0, this str of 4 will be displayed here. Like this, we can able to print this twice, or we can able to concatenate both the variables. All these things can be possible with the help of this sequence type. So let me show you with this example now. This is example 2 for your output. So can you able to understand the difference now? All these things are commented lines, okay? Just ignore these commented lines. This is just for your understanding purpose. Okay. So now I have a variable called str1 with this message and another variable with this message. Now if I use str print str1 and str2 means I can able to get these 2 values as it is. Right. I am not completing the statement, okay? It is automatically now printing. I'm just utilizing it from the context menu. So what will be outcome of these 2 lines? It will be printing this value, complete value. But my requirement is I want to print some number of characters. I want to take the first 2 characters from the input variable str1. I can use a slicing operator. Or I can, if I want to print any specific character, I can able to refer to this one, right? Or if I want to print that string str1 twice, I can use this one, like str1 into 2. Or if I want to concatenate both the string, I can use plus operator. So plus operator between the string variable is used to concatenate. Concatenate means combine. Easy. Hope you all clear with this. Are you clear with this output now?
Yes.
Anyone finding it difficult to understand, or if you're unable to understand, let me know right away, okay? There is no point in mentioning at the end. Are we good to proceed, or guys have any question here? Yes, please respond. I'm not getting a response from all.
Yeah. Awesome.
I'll be sharing all these examples. What are the examples I'm showing you, right? I'll be creating a separate folder and maintain all the program samples, everything there. Don't worry about it. Fine. So the next important component is list. So a Python list are similar to an array. Normally in C program or even shell, we use array variable, right? So here also we'll be using some group of elements called as a list. But here the difference is, in general array concept, we can have the group of elements with same data type, but here you can maintain different type of data. A list can have a numeric value as well as some string of characters. It's possible. Correct. So declare a variable and use square bracket to maintain the list of elements. So the square bracket is used to represent the list item. Correct. And each and every item within the list can be separated by using comma. Easy. And if you want, you can able to use a slice operators also to print some specific or some number of items from the list. So if I simply say list print of 1, I mean list 1, right? So it is just going to print the value whatever you have assigned to the list. And here you can see the slice operator. I'm using 3 colon, right? So I can able to get the exact value. What is that number? I can able to get it. So here this is the value. So 0, 1, 2, and 3. So this is the item located in the third position. I can able to get this value. Similarly, if you want to print the list slicing 0 to 2, I can able to print the value here. Like this, using your list, we can able to maintain some list of items, and the item can be of any data type that matters. And apart from the list, we have another concept called tuple. Tuple is also same as like list. Okay, it's all very important for interview also. Please pay attention. So both tuple and list are look similar. It is similar to list in many ways, because as like list, tuple also can contain some collection of items of different data type. It is possible. And here also you can use comma to separate it. Okay. But the point here is the items, whatever you maintain in the list, it can be editable. You can able to modify the list at any point of time. The value can be changed if you're creating a list. But if you create a tuple, it is a read-only data. You cannot modify the size and the value of the tuple. Let's say I just declared the tuple here with 3 items, means this is a final list of items you can have. You cannot add more items, or you cannot delete, or you cannot change the value also. So if you want to create a read-only list of items, you can use tuple. If you want to maintain some list of items which can be modified, which are mutable, you can use list. So how it is differentiated means, the variable name can be anything. Okay, variable name is not going to decide whether it's a list or tuple, but the representation of data, all the list item will be represented using square bracket. So if you maintain the list of items using the square bracket, it is mutable. You can able to modify it. Same list of items, if you represent using parentheses, here it is a parenthesis, right? It is read only. So that makes a difference between the tuple and list declaration. Apart from that, the accessing wise, printing the content or slicing the content, concatenation and repetition, everything is same as like how I showed in a previous case. But only thing is you cannot modify it. If you want to add any data or if you want to update any data, it is not possible. But in list, it is possible to update the content. Easy. So list, tuple. And another interesting factor here is about the dictionary. So dictionary is considered as an unordered set of key value pairs. Remember, I told you we can able to query the data from your JSON files or YAML files, which is represented in the form of keys and values. So the basic difference between the list and the dictionary is, in dictionary, the items are maintained in the form of keys and values. This is the key and this is the value. So the key and value are separated by using colon here, and the items are separated by using comma. So dictionary is an unordered set of key value pair of items. It is likely like associative array, which can be used to handle any JSON or YAML files. And here also we'll be using comma to separate the items. And how it is different means the dictionary can be represented using curly brackets. Correct. So using curly brackets, you can able to maintain a list of items. And here also you can able to print the item, you can able to add more, you can able to update, you can able to slice, everything is possible. But only thing is it helps to maintain some group of items which are unordered set of key pairs. So how to declare a list? Lists are declared using square bracket. Tuples are declared using parentheses, and dictionaries are declared using curly brackets. So please understand these three differences. It's very much essential. Python interpreter uses this notation only. If you declare a variable, group of variables with the curly brackets, Python consider it as a dictionary. If it is parenthesis, it considers a tuple. Easy? Are you guys able to understand the differences?
Yes.
Or any other question? All right. Similarly, how to declare a Boolean variable means, Boolean means it is a built-in data value. Okay, like just declare a variable and you can assign the value like true or false. That's it. Like x equal to true, y equal to false means that variable will be considered true or false, or 0 or 1s. So always 0 or 1 or 0 or true or false is used to differentiate the term. So here also you don't need to provide any data type, just declare a variable and assign the value. That value, it can be true or it can be false. Correct. So true can be represented by any non-zero value, and false can be represented by 0 or f matters. So for decision making and for validity check, we'll be using the Boolean variables. Got it? So like this, we have a lot of things in our variables itself when it comes to Python. So these are some reserved keywords, as I said. Like I was talking about the predefined keywords, right? Reserved keyword used by the interpreter. Like we use something called if statement, try, true, false. All these things are called as a predefined keywords. So you can able to declare any number of variables for your Python program, but the variable name should not coincide with this keywords. So Python keywords are the special reserved words that can convey some special meaning to the interpreter. Like when you declare a variable with the initial value true means it will define that variable as a Boolean variable, right? Like that, it is going to define some or convey some special meaning to the interpreter. So each keyword has a special meaning and a specific operation, and these keywords cannot be used as a variable name. You see? That's it. That's all about your variable declarations in your Python. And next we'll see about the operators, like how we can able to handle the variables, how to perform some arithmetic operations, comparison, assignment operations, a lot of things are there. We'll see in the next session. So any questions so far? Next session, you must be knowing your timing, right? Guys?
Yeah, evening one.
Yeah, so the next session will be on Monday, that is on 10th of Feb. We'll be connecting at 8 p.m. IST. Correct? Hope you all have the timing with you.
Yes, sir.
Right. So ensure that you join the session on time. So Monday evening we'll meet. And I'll be sharing all these class notes as well as the scripts that we have demonstrated in this session. Any question, please let me know. Guys, all good or any other concerns or any questions?
I'm having one question in Linux. May I?
Okay. Okay.
That you have told that vi setup ambient builder server.sh. So we need to run that command in that script folder which we have created in DevOps admin, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
after that, VI editor will open and we'll copy all that install git, install JTK like that, and we will run execute it.
Yeah, that's right.
Before that, we don't need to install one by one in that script folder, right? That
Not necessary. Not necessary. It's all just a statement, right? Through the script, you're going to install everything.
okay.
Okay, I just given you some scenario to install such packages. You can use your
Yeah.
scripts.
Okay.
All right, guys. So any other question or we are good to close this call? So you have 3 days time now, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday till evening you have time. So better practice all your previous modules. Linux, practice everything. And then Python also just go through things, whatever discussed so far. And Monday before you join session, just have a glance, go through my class recordings and notes for Python and join the session so that you can, it'll be easy for you to understand the upcoming topics because 3 days is a huge gap, right? So don't miss the flow.
You will share these notes right now, right?
Yeah, I'm sharing this. It will be updated in your source code repository. You have access to repository, right?
Yeah.
So I'll update this in your repository itself. So we can have a separate folder for Python. I think yesterday itself I prepared a folder. You can have it there itself. Right. Fine then. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.